We've heard from a lot of Republicans that, gee, I'd vote for somebody besides Speaker Boehner, but nobody will put their name out there as running, so there's nobody else to vote for. Well, that changed yesterday when my friend Ted Yoho said, I'm putting my name out there. I'll be a candidate for Speaker. And I'm putting my name out there also today to be another candidate for Speaker. We have enough people that say, you know what, it really is time for a change. You deceived us when you went to Obama and Pelosi to get your votes for the Cromnibus. You said you'd fight amnesty tooth and nail. You didn't. You funded it. And then you took the only hostage that Obama would like for us to shoot. It was a terrible strategy, and it follows a number of years of broken promises. It's time for a change. And a poll came out Friday saying 60% or more of Republicans in the country that voted in the last election, well, including independents that voted Republican, they want a change. They want a different speaker.
All right, that was Louis Gohmert from this weekend on Fox and Friends. That poll coming out of EMC Research, yep, 60% of Republican voters say they want someone rather than Boehner. The Washington Post has now counted 14 Republicans who will vote to dump Boehner, including Louis Gohmert, Ted Yoho, Steve King, Jim Bridenstine, David Bratt, Walter Jones, Gary Palmer, Tom Massey, Paul Gozer, and Marlon Stutzman among them, and two House Republicans that said prior to 2014 they'd vote against Boehner. You have freshman Jody Heiss and Texas freshman John Ratcliffe, and two House Republicans voted against Boehner in 2013. Haven't weighed in yet. Steve Pierce and Justin Amash. So they're out there as well. Louis Gohmert, who's now put his hat in the ring, is on our Newsmaker line. How are you?
Well, as far as I know, I'm okay, Sean, but it's always good to talk to you. I'm better when I talk to you. And thanks for the faith in letting me guest host your show last week.
Yeah, no, that was a huge risk.
Made it easy, Miss Linda, but it just
no, I'm only
what
kidding.
A great group.
Well, I was going to say that's a huge risk. No, I'm teasing. I heard you did
it. A huge risk.
It was. I was not. Louis, you were a born talker. You're made for this business.
I get that from my late mother, but
it was interesting because I had said now for a long time that I think we need a new leader in the House. And somebody with a bold, dynamic vision, communicate that vision, somebody that means what he says what he means, somebody that could really lead. I want to revitalize Republican Party. I don't want a watered-down version of the Democratic Party, which I think in many ways the Republican Party's become. I'm interested to see what changes now that the Senate has gone Republican, if anything. But I don't see John Boehner as the guy that went to, let's see, Steny Hoyer and Harry Reid and Barack Obama to pass full funding for Obamacare for 2015. I don't see him as the guy.
Yeah, Sean, you just look at the promises that the speaker had made that were broken with this Cromnibus. He said we'd fight tooth and nail against illegal amnesty. So what do? We fund it to February. Well, you gave away the best leverage that we had, and you're big on talking about this and noting it. We gave it away. We gave him the czars. We funded we gave him more money for the EPA than even he asked. It was incredible, the disastrous things that were put in there. And then, so we broke that promise to fight tooth and nail. And then he has talked about, we'll defund Obamacare. We just funded Obamacare for the whole rest of the year. And then he had said before, and if you go back to 2010, you put us in the majority, we will read the bill. People had hats, read the bill. We would read the bill. We'd give people time to read the bill, and we did not do that. And he has said before himself, when we don't go through regular order, we get in trouble. And yet here again, it happens over and over, we didn't follow that. Where regular order is where you go through the subcommittee and have the bill. It gets amended. You have hearings open. The public can see. Goes to the main committee. You can have amendments and debate on every one of them. Only then, after it passes that, it can go to the House floor and you have amendments there from both sides. It's fully debated. That's regular order. And we don't do that on big stuff. We just They get it negotiated behind closed doors, and here you go, vote for it. And if we keep the same leadership, we're going to have to take what people around here call tough vote after tough vote.
See, here's one of my problems.
Because they're not what we said we'd do. And I do have a lot of vision, and a lot of it involves what you've talked about. And I don't know of anybody that's talked more explicitly about the need for a plan. Just tell people what we're for. They're hungry for it. And, of course, something I fought for all 10 years is and we finally passed it in the House, and that is to end the automatic increase in every federal budget, every federal department agency. You got to end that. And we have not we could have forced the Senate to take that up, and we haven't done that. And you follow that up with something like the penny plan, like you've talked about and advocated. That's not so hard. And then we actually use everything at our disposal, defund his czars, defund the things that are killing America, and use our leverage, the power of the purse, to stop the illegal, unconstitutional amnesty. You secure the border before we do any kind of other immigration reform. And I would really like to decentralize the power of the Speaker. It's like a dictatorship. Nobody becomes a chairman, gets a committee if he doesn't want it. You don't have hearings that he doesn't want. I mean, there's just too much control. And something, I don't care who is Speaker, we get a new Speaker. I want an up or down vote. No confidence or confidence vote every 2 years after the election by the majority party to decide whether that Speaker stays or doesn't, because there is too much power in that office, and you get to run off potential people unless they're hard-headed enough that they'll take potential abuse to get their name out to run against the current Speaker. You
mentioned, I love how they've had so many symbolic votes, for example, ones that everybody knew would never have any teeth, and
yep.
For example, and that would be like defunding Obamacare. But when it comes to really defunding Obamacare, he could have pushed a continuing resolution into February or even March.
Yep.
And then you guys could have fully, completely defunded Obamacare, funded the rest of the government.
Yep.
And it would have been done. And
yep.
And that, to me, it seems like he has an inordinate fear of being blamed for a government shutdown and a fear to use his power, and more of a desire to stay in power than anything else. Let's talk about the process, because when does this vote take place? Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, we get sworn in at noon Eastern time tomorrow. And Sean, I bet you this is going to be the most watched voting for Speaker in the history of C-SPAN. I guarantee you there'll be more people watching. They're going to want to know how their new member of Congress votes. Do you just jump on board with the establishment, the same old?
By the way, Louis, we've been giving out the Capitol Hill phone number. It's 202.
And it's been overwhelmed.
It's 202-224-3121. And let people know if you think the Republican Party would be better off. Now, I threw out a challenge on Twitter, and then Matt Boyle picked it up on Breitbart.com and so on and so forth. I said, well, I think Trey Gowdy would be a great speaker. I know he seconded Boehner, but he doesn't want the job. I've known you for years. You've told me over the years you didn't want the job, so I didn't even put your name in there. But you now have decided, because there's a process here. And you guys need to those that are against Boehner need to get to a magic number. That magic number is 29, and that would cause a second ballot.
Right.
There are some people making a false argument that, that would plow the way to elect Nancy Pelosi as Speaker.
Which can't happen.
Okay, so tell us the process.
Okay, well, we have a vote, and I thought because I was so good on Robert's Rules of Order and federal rules of court, things like that, I would know the rules instantly when I came into the House. But wrong. We go by Thomas Jefferson's rules of the House, and they are different from any other procedural rules you've ever had. But to elect the Speaker, you must have an absolute majority of the votes made on the House floor for a person in being. And so to be eligible, it has to be a living adult American citizen. Doesn't have to be a member of Congress. But anyway, so when people vote present, actually they lower the number it would take to get a majority. They help both Boehner and Pelosi. But because after Michael Grimm's resignation, if we had 59 people vote present, then there is a chance that Pelosi could get elected. But they're not going to be 59 present votes because people are finding out a present vote actually helps Boehner. It doesn't hurt him, and it helps both Boehner and Pelosi. So that's the last thing that anybody ought to be doing. But as long, whether it's me, Ted Yoho, somebody that's not going to withdraw their name after the first round and say, I'm out, I don't want to oppose Boehner, and then say, so you guys that voted for me, then jump on board with Boehner. Just don't vote for somebody that would do that. And we have 29 people who vote for an adult American citizen living now, and we get a second ballot. That hasn't happened since 1923. And interestingly, in 1923, the issue was the speaker had become a dictator. He had too much power. And they weren't pushing a particular candidate. They were demanding that the speaker agree to some rules changes, and they had 9 ballots. They went through 9 ballots before the speaker got a majority, but he finally had to capitulate and give in to all the demands. Well, this time we have a demand of a new leader. We've had 9 years with John Boehner as elected leader. He got elected in early 2006 to finish the second year of Tom DeLay's term. And he said, hey, this is a great test for me. If by November I've not convinced you I'm the best leader we could have for this party, then throw me out in November. Well, November of 2006, we lost the majority. And while some of us couldn't even catch our breath for thoughts of who all was going to be having gavels and controlling Congress, one person wasn't out of breath. He was on the phone that night calling people saying, hey, this wasn't fair. I didn't get a full 2-year term. You can't blame me for this. You got to give me 2 more years. So he got 2 more years. And as you recall, 2008 wasn't a very good year either. So anyway, we got the majority in 2010, but it wasn't because of good Republican leadership. It was because of how bad Democrats were. And you've seen Pat Goodell's numbers. It's not just a conservative base that want a new Speaker of the House. It's 60% of those that voted Republican in November. That's huge.
All right, let me ask this question. So why is the number 29 important? Explain that to people.
Well, because if 29 Republicans vote for a person who is not John Boehner, then nobody in the House will have gotten 218 votes. And if you don't get 218 votes with one less than 435, we have you get 217. That's a tie. Well, a 217 is not a majority. So you're going to have 218 votes to get a majority to satisfy the rules of the House that you're elected Speaker. If we have 29 Republicans vote for someone,
all right, play that out for me. Let's say you get the 29 votes for either you or Ted Yoho.
Right.
All right, so then you have another ballot.
Right.
In the interim, there's a little lobbying going on. That means, I guess,
there's a lot of lobbying.
All right, that means, well, come on, stick with Speaker Boehner. We'll give you the chairmanship you want. Stick with Speaker Boehner. We'll give you the committee you want. Stick with Speaker Boehner. We'll give you this. We'll give you that. Right?
That happened 2 years ago.
Yeah. So, in other words, if you turn against us, you're never getting anything while we're here.
Yep.
That goes on too. So threats
absolutely goes on.
So, so you really need 29 people, so it sounds to me like it's doable. Now, the Washington Post says you only got 14.
Yeah, well, actually, as of this morning, there were actually only 9, and I'm getting calls regularly. In fact, I like to listen to your show, but I've been on the phone nonstop, and there are other people that are saying they're not ready to go public yet. But you're right, Sean. It is doable. but the people can't be sucked into business as usual. 60% of Republicans say they want to change. We have got to, or 2016, despite what the establishment says, 2016 is going to be a disaster when 25 to 33% of Republicans
I
walk.
think the Republican Party's best political hopes are if they rein in deficit spending, if they repeal and replace Obamacare, if they are passionate about pushing energy independence and the jobs that will be created, if they secure the borders, and if they offer choice in education. If they do that, that's good politics. All right, if people want to call the switchboard, if you want your congressman or woman to vote against Speaker Boehner and you would think the Republicans need a new speaker, call 202-224-3121. All right, Louis, we'll be watching closely. You have my support.
And they can tell their guy, if they don't like me, it's still vote for me or Ted until we get to a ballot and have somebody they like, because that's what will happen. At some point there'll be a conference, and that's when we'll have to sit down and work something out.
Louis Gohmert, thank you. Hey, so what's your top New Year's resolution? Now, if you're like me, maybe it's getting your life organized. Where do you begin with that? Now, a great place to start is protecting your family, and a great way to take control of your family's future. If you haven't made a will, if you don't have a living trust, well, you need to get one, and that's where LegalZoom.com can help. Now, there's no easier way to make sure that your family is legally taken care of than getting your life organized. Well, that means taking control of your financial affairs. So if you're thinking of starting a business or you have one already, LegalZoom can help you form your business, provide you the full support you need to run it successfully. Now, for more than 10 years, LegalZoom has helped millions of people get personalized attention that they need. And if you'd like more help, they can connect you with an independent attorney in most states, but not a law firm. Now, this month you can save even more by entering my last name, Hannity, in the referral box when you check out. So don't let another year pass by before you get your life organized. Go to LegalZoom.com, LegalZoom.com.
Sean Hannity.